What's going on, everyone? Earlier today, Bill Simmons, a famous broadcaster, recently made a trade video for Kyrie Irving. And one of the trades in the video was sending Kyrie Irving to the Miami Heat, which I wanted to talk about and give my thoughts and opinions on the proposed trade. And of course, hear yours. So make sure you join the discussion down in the comments below and hit that subscribe button and that like button. Helps me out a lot. So Kyrie Irving would be traded to the Miami Heat. And the logic behind it is that the Heat's culture knows how to deal with Kyrie Irving. And many of the issues Kyrie has, Jimmy Butler has, and Miami was able to know how to deal with Jimmy Butler to get him to fit and work in the culture. So it's like, okay, well, we could get Kyrie to buy in the same way. The difference is that Jimmy Butler is that like endless drive, work ethic, just crazily obsessed type of guy, where Kyrie's not. Kyrie is the kind of guy that he would quit basketball tomorrow and never look back. And that, I think, is the biggest difference between the two, is that Jimmy was able to buy in because the Heat's culture is all about winning. We need to win. Like, whatever it takes to win, we get it done. And Jimmy is that type of guy. Yeah, he's kind of a headache in the locker room and just, can be a bit of a dick. But ultimately, he is, let's get the job done. And so far, Miami's been able to do it with him. And don't get me wrong, if they could get Kyrie Irving, that would be huge for the Miami Heat, because Jimmy Butler, we saw in this most recent playoff run, he needs help. I mean, he was single-handedly putting the Miami Heat on his back, and he wasn't able to finish it, right? Because he was the only one that was able to do anything. And then you get a guy like Kyrie that can hit big shots, that can get you consistent, 20 plus a game. That would be huge for the Miami Heat. So I think if you could get Kyrie to buy in, then yes, you could get Kyrie, and I think that would be hugely beneficial for not only Jimmy Butler, but the Miami Heat, period. So diving in the proposed trade, what the Miami Heat would be sending Duncan Robinson and Kyle Lowry to the Brooklyn Nets. And the reason I think that this would be great for Miami is that you're giving up two bad contracts and you're getting Kyrie. Yeah, Kyrie is going to be the other big contract. You're going to have to give him a max like he wants and stuff. But if he works, I mean, that's beautiful. That's brilliant. And Duncan Robinson completely fell out of the rotation. Kyle Lowry, he's just constantly injured and stuff. And if you can get Kyrie over these two, I think that's a huge upgrade. I think that is a huge benefit for the Miami Heat. My problem is the Brooklyn Nets. Why would the Brooklyn Nets want Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson, right? I mean, those are two guys that, yeah, they're solid, but unless Duncan Robinson can get back to being the bubble Duncan Robinson where he was just lights out shooting, he doesn't make a ton of sense. And I mean, the Brooklyn Nets have plenty of shooting. They have plenty of guys like Seth Curry, Joe Harris, things like that could really just light it up. Kyle Lowry would be great, but this doesn't supplement the lack of Kyrie Irving if you're the Brooklyn Nets. I just don't think that this makes sense for Brooklyn as a trade package. For Miami, it makes all the sense in the world, right? I mean, if I was Miami, I would do that immediately. Not just that, it's probably easier to trade Kyrie Irving than it is to trade these two. So even if the Kyrie experiment doesn't work, you could probably still get something back for Kyrie Irving over Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson, where what Brooklyn would be sending would be Kyrie Irving and Joe Harris. Now, Joe Harris, who I just previously mentioned, is basically a better Duncan Robinson. So why would they want to trade Joe Harris in order to get a guy in Duncan Robinson who's just not as good, and they're losing Kyrie Irving? I just don't think, again, it makes any sense for the Brooklyn Nets. I think it makes beautiful sense for Miami. I mean, if this deal was on the table, if I'm Miami, I'm putting that trigger immediately. And I do understand Brooklyn does really seem to want to get rid of Kyrie Irving, and they seem kind of dedicated, and they don't want to do the extension. They don't want to re-sign him. Even the owner, Sean Marks, met with the Lakers, and they had like a dinner, and they talked about a potential Westbrook for Kyrie trade. And so clearly Brooklyn seems to be done with Kyrie Irving. Brooklyn seems to want to move off of Kyrie Irving, but there's a couple things that go into that, and I don't think you should just get rid of Kyrie Irving just to get rid of Kyrie Irving. I think that there are much better trades and packages out there that he could get for a Kyrie Irving, because I don't think there are a lot of teams that want Kyrie. I think the pool to draw from as far as teams that would actually take Kyrie, I think is very small and very limited. But I think that there are teams out there that would give a better package than a Kyle Lowry with his age and his contract, and a Duncan Robinson who has a terrible contract based on what we saw last year from his productive standpoint and what he was putting on the court at the time. I just think for Brooklyn, this would be a disaster. And beyond that, I just think the proposed Westbrook for Kyrie trade would be so much better. I really do. Because one, Kyrie, from a Lakers standpoint, Kyrie makes sense because you have LeBron James. LeBron knows how to deal with Kyrie. LeBron knows how to work with Kyrie. They won a championship together. Kyrie might buy in. He's talked so highly about LeBron lately, so maybe he would come in and actually be that guy. The Lakers immediately get better. As far as the Brooklyn Nets, if Westbrook is great and works, then perfect. I know that there's issues with Kevin Durant in the past not wanting to play with Westbrook. Kevin Durant wanted to leave Westbrook and he joined the Warriors. But they've reconciled their relationship. And as far as we know, the last thing we heard, they were good. So who knows if he'd be willing to play. Not just that, but you're probably losing Kevin Durant if you made the Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson trade. So if you lose them either way, at least you're getting some pieces for Kevin Durant. And Westbrook, whether Durant stays or not, Westbrook is at least an expiring contract. So you're trading Kyrie Irving, and at least you're getting back a contract that at the end of the year is gone. And now you have $47 million to go and get another star. That is huge if you're the Brooklyn Nets. That is much better than taking on several years of Kyle Lowry and several years of Duncan Robinson. At least with Westbrook, you get a guy that you know is going to show up, which Kyrie hasn't. You know you're going to get a guy that has the same winning mentality and just relentlessness. He's worked well on every team he's been on except for the Lakers. But that's because he was the third, fourth option on the Lakers team, where if he goes to Brooklyn, he's the second option next to Kevin Durant. Him and Kevin Durant have worked well before. They've gone to a finals. They've gone to a Western Conference finals. So they are enough to likely get the job done. Kevin Durant may stay if, he looks at it as like, okay, it's Westbrook. I deal with Westbrook for a year. If it works and it's great, then maybe we re-sign him for less because he's not going to get a $50 million contract ever again. He's not going to make $40 million ever again. And if it doesn't work, okay, cool. He's off the books, and now we have $47 million, and I can pick my next player to come join me. I think it could be enough to get Kevin Durant to stay. I just think that this is a better deal. Not saying that it's the best deal, but I think it's a better deal than Miami proposal from Bill Simmons. But Kevin Durant, like I said, if you did that trade, I think he's pissed and I think he's gone. Because you already have to convince him to not leave when you're trading his friend. And the whole reason he went to Brooklyn was to play with Kyrie Irving. That's why they went to Brooklyn together, because Kyrie wanted to go home and Kevin Durant wanted to play with Kyrie Irving. Kevin Durant even recently said that he even considered going to the Knicks, but then ultimately went to Brooklyn because him and Kyrie could play together, right? So he's there for Kyrie. And he hasn't even spoken to the front office since their elimination. I think that is a bad sign. And then on top of that, you're getting two bad contracts that don't make you any better. They make you, in my opinion, far worse. And now Kevin Durant is the solo guy, yes, centered around a bunch of great role players, but we just saw what happened to Miami, where Kevin Durant, he gets worn out, and we saw him get worn out in the Bucks series, right, the previous year. And we've seen Kevin Durant get tired, get exhausted, and we saw what Boston did. Boston just boxed in Kevin Durant and said, make everyone else beat you, and Brooklyn got completely swept. That was with Kyrie Irving. Now imagine what happens when you don't have Kyrie Irving. And yes, of course, guys could get hot. Maybe Kyle Lowry can facilitate better. He is a better facilitator. He is a better defender, but he's still not going to give you the output that Kyrie Irving would be if Kyrie's bought in and Kyrie is the guy that is Mr. Reliable rather than the guy who, has missed an entire season. So I just think that Kevin Durant, if I saw that trade and I was Kevin Durant, I'd be like, okay, trade me too. Take those contracts. You probably get a pick or something back. All right, cool. I'm out of here. Get whatever you can for me. I want to go to these handful of teams. get what you can, and I'm out. Like, that's what I think ends up happening, which would be a disaster for the Brooklyn Nets, because now not only do you not have Kevin Durant, but now you got 2 contracts you don't want, you don't need for several years. It would put Brooklyn in such a bad position. And don't get me wrong, Kyle Lowry is great. And you can't really buy into, and I know people are going to say, well, he only averaged like 7 points in the Western or the Eastern Conference Finals. Yes, but he was injured. He wasn't even supposed to be playing. And he still played, and he still was effective, and he still had some solid games. Kyle Lowry, if he is healthy, which we saw during the season, was great. He was averaging like, I think, 15 or 18 points. He was dishing out assists, getting rebounds. He was the guy that Miami hoped he was during the regular season, but then he got hurt. He wasn't supposed to play, but, it's the Eastern Conference Finals. You got to play, right? So that's the big difference. But anyway, as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think about this trade? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Like I said, from a Miami standpoint, immediately, let's do this ASAP. From a Brooklyn standpoint, I think it makes 0 sense. I just don't know why they would want to do that, why they would do that. Again, this is a Bill Simmons proposal trade. I didn't come up with this trade, but it's just something that I thought was interesting that I wanted to talk about and hear your thoughts and opinions. Where do you think Kyrie Irving lands? Do you think he stays in Brooklyn, or do you think he goes elsewhere? And which team do you think he lands on if you think he does go elsewhere? All these things I would love to hear down in the comment section below. If you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, follow by the bell notification, stay up to date with all things sports, join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.